Hey guys, and welcome back to another video. This time it's going to be my Heisman watch after week 6 of college football. This is my first Heisman watch of the season. I planned to do one a couple weeks ago, but again, some stuff came up. I talked about it in my last video just briefly, but some stuff came up. First Heisman watch of the season. I love doing these videos, man. I've always loved the Heisman Trophy. I'm infatuated with it, and I love doing Heisman watches and keeping up with the race throughout the season. One of my favorite things about college football. I can't wait to do it again. But if you clicked on this video, I assume you love the Heisman Trophy. I assume you love college football. So do I. And I talk about it on this channel, so I would appreciate a subscription to see me talk about college football every single week. But now that that's out of the way, let's get into my Heisman watch. Honorable mentions. Let's start off with I cannot pronounce his name. DJ Ungagale. I'm so sorry. I do not mean to mispronounce it, I swear. But DJ is what I'm going to call him. DJ, the quarterback for Clemson, is doing very good right now. He's starting to click. He is starting to click, and that is scary. It's going to make Clemson a very dangerous team. On the season, he has 1,773 yards. He has 17 touchdowns to only 2 picks with a 150 passer rating. Very good stats. And the fact he's starting to click is very good for Clemson and very good for his Heisman chances. I mean, if Clemson can beat Florida State this upcoming weekend and DJ can put up good stats, Clemson is a good chance to win the ACC, a good chance to run the table, a good chance to go to the college football playoff. And, of course, if your team's undefeated, your team's going to the playoff, that puts you in an amazing spot to be a Heisman finalist or even win the award. My other honorable mention, Will Anderson Jr., the linebacker from Alabama. Maybe my favorite college football player, up there with Bryce Young, who you'll see on the list later. But Will Anderson Jr., I just absolutely love this guy, man. The best defensive player in college football last year and this year. I know people say Aiden Hutchinson last year, but look at the stats. Will Anderson was simply better and played in a tougher conference, in my opinion. But this year, he's put up 1 pick six, 10 tackles for a loss, and 5 sacks. Will Anderson Jr., just a beast. Beast, man. And then the best running back in college football, or one of the best running backs in college football, Blake Corum. He's been doing amazing these past few weeks. A couple performances where Michigan has just relied on him, and he has came up big. Blake Corum, the running back for Michigan, has 755 yards on the season, 11 touchdowns, and 6.2 yards per attempt. He's doing amazing right now. But let's get into my top 5 candidates. At number 5, I have Caleb Williams, the quarterback for USC. This past weekend versus Washington State, he had 220 yards for 2 touchdowns and a 130 passer rating. On the season total, he has 1,768 yards, 17 touchdowns to only 1 pick, a 65% completion percentage, 8.5 yards per attempt, and a 159 passer rating. Caleb Williams in that Lincoln Riley offense, I mean, it is such a good combination. Including him throwing to Jordan Addison, man, it is amazing. Caleb Williams looking like a Heisman contender. And not only that, he's still a sophomore. I think he could be the number 1 pick. Him and Quinn Ewers is battling for the number 1 pick in the, not this upcoming draft, but the draft after. It's going to be very interesting. If he can keep this up, he can definitely not only win a Heisman Trophy, but be the number 1 pick in the draft. At number 4, I have Hendon Hooker, quarterback for Tennessee. Pains me to do this because I despise Tennessee. Absolutely hate them. But I got to give credit where credit is due. This past weekend versus LSU, he had 300 yards for 2 touchdowns and a 162 passer rating. And on the season total, he has 1,663 yards, 13 touchdowns to no, and I repeat, no interceptions, for 70% completion percentage, 10.2 yards per attempt, and a 180 passer rating. Incredible stats, very efficient, very great quarterback, as much as it pains me to say. He has a big chance versus Alabama this weekend. If he can upset them, which hopefully Tennessee doesn't, roll Tide. But hopefully they don't. But if they upset Alabama and he does great, this can 100% result in a Heisman moment and can propel him up this list, possibly to the number 1 spot as the favorite, depending on how good he plays. But yeah, Hendon Hooker at 4. Number 3, I have Stetson Bennett, quarterback for Georgia. Another guy I really don't like. Of course, beat my Tide in the championship game last year. But this weekend versus Auburn, he had 270 yards, a rushing touchdown, and a 123 passer rating. On the season total, he has 1,850 yards, 10 touchdowns to only 1 pick, 8.7 yards per attempt, a 69% completion percentage, and a 150 passer rating. Stetson Bennett obviously leading the defending national champs, a top 3 team in the land, a team that is currently ranked number 1. And obviously the best player on the number 1 team is always going to be in the Heisman conversation, and he is. He has really surprised me. I'll give him that. Credit where credit is due. He is playing amazing this season. He has been a specifically good quarterback on the ground, which I did not see. He's a much more mobile and dual-threat quarterback than people give him credit for. Playing great right now. And number 2, my favorite player in college football, Bryce Young, the quarterback for Alabama. This past weekend versus Texas A&M, he did not play. Obviously got injured in the Arkansas game. And this is either boom or bust. If he puts up good stats like he's been doing, but not great ones, he doesn't have that Heisman moment, it will absolutely break his Heisman. He already had to have a great year simply because they don't like giving out the Heisman to the same player twice. Even if he's the best player in college football, which I believe, they do not like giving out the college football to the same player twice, even when they have great years. They didn't give it to Lamar Jackson twice. They didn't give it to Baker Mayfield twice. You can just go and see this throughout college football history. Only player to win it twice was Archie Griffin, and that was a running back for Ohio State back in the 70s. But my point is, if he comes back versus Tennessee, a top 6 team, and he lights it up. He absolutely lights it up. It has maybe a Heisman moment here or somewhere down the season. He can absolutely still win this award. It'll be very hard. It's an uphill battle because of his injury. But it is still possible. I still believe he's the best player in the country. And you can make a case that this past weekend, Alabama offense struggling, he showed that he's so valuable to his team, unlike what many people say. You can make that argument. On the season, though, even while missing a lot of time, he has 1,355 yards, 17 touchdowns, only 3 picks, a 67% completion percentage, 9 yards per attempt, and a 173 passer rating. Great stats by Bryce Young, my quarterback. Get well soon, Bryce. Hope he can get back versus Tennessee. But the overwhelming Heisman favorite, the person who, realistically, if you asked me before the season, I would say would win the Heisman, it's C.J. Stroud, quarterback for Ohio State, putting up just great numbers. Can he continue it versus high-level competition? That remains to be seen. But so far this season, he's absolutely lit it up. This past weekend versus Michigan State, he had 350 yards, 6 touchdowns, only 1 pick, and a 266 passer rating. Absolutely insanely great passer rating. Excuse me. As he just absolutely lit up the Spartans. On the season, he has 1,741 yards, 24 touchdowns, only 3 picks, a 72% completion percentage, 10.9 yards per attempt, and a 208 passer rating. That is great. Is C.J. Stroud absolutely in the driver's seat for this award, whether you think he's the best player in college football or not? I mean, Ohio State's letting him throw it, and he is doing great right now. If you ask me today, I think he probably wins the award, even if, even if I have a bias towards Bryce Young. I think Bryce Young's the best player in college football. And it'll be interesting. Not only because Bryce Young and C.J. Stroud will battle for this Heisman Trophy, I believe they'll battle for the national championship. I can see Alabama playing Ohio State. That's been my prediction in the offseason, and that's still my prediction. Alabama versus Ohio State. I can see Bryce Young versus C.J. Stroud, and just have that be a generational quarterback battle. Plus, on top of those two other things, C.J. Stroud versus Bryce Young for the number 1 overall pick next season. That'll be an interesting discussion. And hopefully, man, I'm rooting, and I think it'll happen. I think Bryce Young will come up on top on most of those except the Heisman Trophy, just because they don't like giving it to the same player twice. C.J. Stroud lighting it up, and this missed time that Bryce Young has had. But we'll see. I'll come back next week with my Heisman watch next week. But this has been my Heisman watch after Week 6 going into Week 7. Tell me what you think. Who is your favorite to win the Heisman Trophy? Can Bryce win it again? Is C.J. Stroud your favorite? What other player do you think can win it? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. Thank you for watching. Peace out.